Tonight on the Right Angle podcast, personal trainer and all-around good guy, Rami Baghdadi. If we were just talking about cartoons like Ratatouille or whatever, and we're going to tie it all into 90-degree eccentric isometrics tonight, right? Jonathan, my co-host.
Rami, we're all tying
Remy is. Are you sure it was Remy from Ratatouille?
It's
Remy is French for my name, I guess.
Okay, so
Remy from Ratatouille.
all right, well, we already spoiled it. It's Rami, not Remy, right?
Yes,
so Rami is the special guest of the hour. But if I confuse you with any other cartoon characters, people will know why.
I won't be hurt about it.
We got so much to cover tonight, and we're gonna have to mix in some type of some media trivia, some movie trivia, video games. I mean, we got to, because we're both big on that. But
Sure.
I've been excited to have you on the podcast in a more serious tone here, even though I know we're going to get some good laughs tonight. But I've had multiple guests on, athletes. I've had some personal trainers on, people who have a science background, and I don't want to sell you short and make it sound like
Yeah, no worries, of course, I understand. I'm like the Timu trainer.
And here we go.
I'm faking it, and they're paying me for it. And it's great. I don't do any work.
I love it, dude. We're already getting this going here. You're gonna have to edit some of these because I'm gonna be cracking up.
I told you it's gonna be long. It's gonna be 3 hours. Sorry, guys.
All right.
Sure. Sorry.
But your background is not in science.
Actually, I was an exercise science major for a good solid year.
I didn't know that.
Good solid year. I had doctors in the family, and too many doctors. It's kind of annoying. Take Tylenol here, take Tylenol there. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, I actually wanted to do something in terms of I didn't know what I want to do yet. Easily, therapy or doctor, of course, physician, but more of the sports athlete route, right, for athletes. But I always felt like if I'm not 100% in it, my heart, it's gonna be very hard to get in med school. Obviously, it's very competitive. So I was like, I'm a little more business oriented minded, so I wanted to do finance. So about a year and a half in school, I just didn't want to get into finance. And then I had some managerial experience with my work, my previous job. So I added in some management as a second degree, but they didn't count as a second degree, of course, but where I was at school. So I went from just pre-med pretty much for a year, taking all my Bio 1, Bio 2, Chem 1, Chem 2 to finance. So pretty much no science background whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting, though. I didn't know you were initially thinking about doing exercise science.
Sure.
But I think it served you well, actually, that you went a non-traditional route, because it's funny. One of the common quotes you'll hear people say in this field, I think it's any field, but one of the things that interferes with my learning or people's learning is their education, right? And that's a common thing I think is actually holds very true for exercise science. It's like people get so brainwashed with certain things that they hear in the exercise science books or in their classrooms and things that have just been, perpetuating the fitness industry, like, oh, you have to go full range of motion, or you have to stretch. And you didn't have that background, so you almost had a blank slate of hey, you know what? I don't have other people talking into my ear telling me, here's how you have to interpret the research, here's how you have to train. Like, I had that going through my undergrad and through my master's. I almost had to take this blank slate, but I also had to forcefully somewhat disregard that information, not eliminate it from my mind, but man, I need to learn how to think for myself instead of telling me or other people telling me how to think. I think your benefit is that you don't have that background. You had to essentially start with a blank slate from the beginning. So I think that's actually been helpful for you, especially the way you learn and analyze, just seeing you as a client. But that's pretty cool about your background. Tell people a little bit more about some of the injury stuff that you had to deal with before we started training, specifically the hamstring abnormality or mutation, since you're a mutant.
Really little mutant. I guess I'm a little Frankenstein in a way. So
did you know about this? Did you know?
No clue.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, this is going to be good because he doesn't know a whole lot about you. So pretend you're talking to him, because the audience doesn't know much about you.
Sure.
Other than you're on you're on the most wanted list in the U.S.
I'm just existing, and I'm getting hate.
Well,
I don't know.
I could just do it with him.
I'll leave. I'll leave. I'll take a smoke break. Did you bring your smokes?
That's the one thing I wanted to bring.
Yeah.
And
one thing you forgot.
Next time we need an ashtray here, please.
We'll take a smoke break midway through. We'll do some squats and smoke our quads. Okay, we'll smoke the quads.
Aster grass or.
No, exactly.
So 2017, I was 25 years old at the time. And funny enough, I was doing a leg press at my local gym at LA Fitness still somehow. Not a great gym, but matter of convenience. I was doing a leg press, and I guess I went maybe not too deep, like around 90, past 90. And I noticed a pop on the outside of my left knee. And it was really weird, no pain, but it freaked me out because I could literally see a pop, like my leg would like, felt like a bump coming out of nowhere. It really freaked me out. So eventually I went to the doctor, and coincidentally, actually my doctor used to be an NFL player for the Browns. He's a linebacker way back then. He's older, he's in the 60s and 70s, orthopedic surgeon. And he didn't know what it was either, but then he eventually had a theory. It's like, I probably have a birth defect, which is crazy. I'm like, I've been 25 years. I've played multiple sports: soccer, football, flag football, tennis, running, all that stuff. And I've always been pretty fast. And so I started noticing playing flag football and these things. And, depending which side you are, you're in football. So depending which side you are.
Hold it together, dog.
This guy can't.
I'm telling you,
He's in
I haven't even started yet. I haven't even started my jokes
but
yet,
the
man.
fact that you have that birth defect, dude, that's all. I'm gonna start using
It
that.
sounds ridiculous. It sounds like I'm so special.
What's so funny about
How
that?
dare you? How dare
I'm gonna
you?
start
Laugh.
using that when people are like, why don't you squat to your arm? It's gonna say I have a birth defect.
Yeah, but like,
Birth defect.
yeah, birth
Okay,
defect.
Birth
That's what my doctor is saying. I don't know.
Keep
And
going.
I'm thinking. So pretty much when I'd line up for football, even playing flag football, as I'm older, I don't want to get hit by some guy. I'm not getting paid for it, so why would I do that? Right. Anyway, so I started noticing my left foot lined up first on my pivot foot, and I noticed my weight on the outside of my foot would go on the outside of my foot. Like, so my left foot all the way up to my, in my glute, my left knee would be unstable and veer to my outside of my foot, my leg. So I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, I haven't done anything traumatic for this issue to occur. And so I went to the doctor eventually, and we talked about it. And yeah, it sounds like you have some type of snapping tendon syndrome. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And he's describing it. So pretty much the tendon was so out of line, it just went out of place in a way, my hamstring tendon around next to my knee, that it kept bumping in with my IT band at a certain degree of my knee flexion. Okay. So I was like, so it wouldn't happen. There was no pain. And he's like, you'll be fine if you don't have surgery, but just the leg will be a bit different and you have to work really hard. Now, I'm always going to come to the theory of like, maybe if I met Joel earlier, maybe I wouldn't have had surgery. But yet again, if it really is a birth defect, I maybe still had to fix it. So even when I would drive for my corporate job at the time as an accountant, and for several years, a handful of years, and my left foot leg would naturally want to rest against the door, my left knee. And that wasn't by just, it was subconscious. It wasn't consciously doing that. So, and then it's like, if you need it fixed, we probably need to fix it for you. You'll be fine, but I need to suture it back in place. So, and he told me, he's like, you're the third or fourth person I've ever had. And he's an older doctor. And he's like, that I've ever seen this happen or have it. So for 25 years of my life, I've never felt that coming. It just came out of the blue doing the leg press. And so I think it was like the body, maybe it was a birth defect, and eventually the body gave out eventually. And it was kind of crazy. I mean, the pain was insane. So the week of my surgery, I decided to have surgery. And you had to pretty much suture the tendon back in place. So my left hamstring naturally is now shortened compared to my right. So sometimes, even now, if I don't do enough activation things, sit down too much, sometimes my left hamstring naturally, off the bat, not doing nothing wrong, will be a little tighter. But once I do a couple things, it's good to go. And it hasn't really caused me any issues long term so far. But pretty much, he's saying, after you have surgery, you're not going to be the same. It's almost like it's a very awkward surgery. So it's like the incision is very close to the knee, and a lot of nerve branches there. So it's like almost like getting your ACL repair or something. It's very weird. So I had to relearn how to bend my knee, like with the craziest therapy, and it just felt like a brand new leg. And I lost all the weight in my leg. It was pretty crazy. So
This was what, about a year before we met?
I think the same year, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Actually, maybe it was. It was hard. I can't remember. It's 2017, actually.
Okay, yeah, 2017.
Is that when you guys met?
Coincidentally. So
yeah.
crazy how we met. I actually started my corporate job. I had to start my new corporate job after college, and not a great job to have after you have to sit down all day and you have surgery in a straight boot. And first job, corporate job, I should say. And I was feeling a lot better, and I did PT, but I didn't finish my PT. I didn't really like it. They made me do a lot of stiff leg things. My left leg, it didn't feel very comfortable. Didn't feel natural. I was like, I'm good. Like I can.
You say stiff leg, you mean like
Yeah, so she
stiff
made me like
leg
almost
deadlift almost? Or
almost like hinging over, but keep my leg locked. I'm like,
man.
I get it because it's still needs to bend more. It's not trying to get to bend, but I'm like, why would we do the opposite? So
That's just not a functional position, but keep going.
yeah, it didn't feel natural. Felt very weird. And so I walked to my car. I was hanging out with some friends in Atlanta, and I was walking to my car, and then I bumped into Ben Lai.
Yeah, we had Ben
Oh,
on
no
the
way.
podcast.
And I went to high school with him. I haven't seen him in years. I'm like, man.
You did? You
Yeah, we went to high
with
school
Ben?
together, and back when he was in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Small world.
small world. I'm like, oh man, I guess his dad had the restaurant, the Thai restaurant. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when he's
yeah.
finishing up work, and I'm walking around hanging out with friends at some bar. And I don't drink at the time, or I don't drink at all. But I was being DD, whatever. And I was driving to my car, And it's like, oh man, it's nice to see you. Nice to see you caught up and things like that. And it's like, oh, I've noticed you've been working out. I was like, yeah, man, you have some crazy trainer, Joel, right? And I was just at the
Crazy
time.
trainer.
He's like, you're doing some crazy stuff. I mean, crazy strong. I mean, he's been working out for a long time, and that's just kind of like his background. I was like, you should go see him. I was like, your traps are really big. And the first thing he said, one of the first things he said to me, we were talking about, it's like, oh, you got big traps. I mean, it looks like you're compensating on your rows. I'm like, compensating? I'm like, nice to see you too. I'm like, all right, man. All right. I'm like, all right, man. That's cool, I guess. Nice to see you. That's fine.
Hey, you're used to
but
getting
it's true.
insulted.
No, he was right. He was right.
That's
I had really big
hilarious.
traps, like a wrestler. I'm like, I don't know. My traps are huge. I don't do that many straps.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about.
We'll
them a
talk about it.
little
I won't
bit,
cut
yeah.
it. But that's like, go see my trainer, Joel. And you had availability at the time.
Yeah.
I know you're much busier now. You've always been busy.
Well, that was
So
2
that's,
years after, 2 or 3 years after I finished my PhD. So I was still building up my business. So just for people to know,
Yeah.
it's not like my business was thriving 6 months after I finished my PhD. People don't realize it took me a few years to get things going. Like I actually thought it was going to be kind of gangbusters from the beginning because like,
Sure.
hey, how many trainers have a PhD and have?
I never knew any.
Yeah.
myself.
So I thought, man, this is going to be easy. For those first 2 or 3 years, I was struggling. I almost took a job at Lifetime Fitness. I was looking at other gyms to take jobs at because, they would give you clients.
Yeah.
But then once I got a few clients, a few athletes, then the word of mouth started to spread. So I wanted to say that just to encourage people that if you start personal training and it doesn't take off the first 6 months or year, or even 2 years, just give it some time, be patient. But if you train with proper methods, your business will take care of itself because you will have a thriving business. So go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so, and then then I started training with you the first time. I'll never forget it. You wanted me to do an evaluation, walk around, see my posture. Some things you like, some things we had to tweak, of course, like planks and lunges. And I'll never forget, I was doing my lunge. And, I don't want to say our lunge is different than other people doing lunge or split squats, but ours obviously has a little more thought. Don't just do lunge because I told you to. Let's see where head position is. Let's see what posture is. The feet alignment, things like that. Core activation, all
Keep
these
your
things.
heel tall.
Heel tall, and it's funny. I have
Keep
clients,
your heel
and not to go
tall.
sidetrack real quick, I'm going on a tangent, but I tell clients we do kickstand squats or have the heel tall in the back. Somehow it changes the activation. They feel it way more.
Oh, yeah.
Subtle
Everything.
things that I try to.
I
tell
mean,
my
even like a
clients.
shoulder press. You just go from regular foot stance to kickstand.
It's
the
that
activation
much harder,
level
too,
is that
yeah.
much
Oh, yeah.
different.
So much more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So,
for sure.
anyway, not to go on tangents, I will do that. So I apologize in advance. But we started with my left foot forward on a split squat, and this was body weight. I can never forget it. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do because not only now that we do our, single leg activation, our feet, strength activity, our
Strength.
mobility and strengthening of our ankles and feet.
Oh, yeah, that's good exercise.
Because my foot was pretty much wanting to go on the outside completely. So there was like almost the perfect remedy in a way. It was brutal. It was hard. Could not keep my balance for like more than 2 seconds without losing my form. And this was body weight. Now my doctor's like, man, you're not gonna be the same. Like almost like an ACL tear. You might perform again. And he was really smart. He's a nice guy, smart guy. And he's like, careful going too deep on squats. And just going deep. And, to be fair, I'm like, be careful with squats. Most people are like, oh, I don't want to squat because I'm going to hurt myself. And they're not wrong because a lot of people do squats really bad, especially deadlifts.
He probably knew that from all the years
I mean,
of football.
his back was so round. He was older for sure. I'm sure he
Yeah.
took a lot of beatings, right?
Can I go off on a 20-second tangent
Sure.
real fast? Your
No.
orthopedic surgeon told you, he said don't go too deep on squats.
Yeah, be careful.
So I've
Yeah.
talked to different orthopedic surgeons over the years, whether it's been for athletes who I was going to start training. I had to, they wanted me to talk with the orthopedic surgeon or just knowing some orthopedic surgeons and people who worked on like some of my relatives in the past. And one thing that's always surprising to me is that the orthopedic surgeons understand the 90-degree concept better than most trainers and strength coaches. They know that they're the first ones to say, hey, don't squat past 90, don't lunge past 90, don't hinge past 90, whether they're talking about the therapeutic benefits of the hip, the knee, the spine. These guys know because they're the ones that are operating on the joints. They see the pathology of how these injuries transpire, so they're able to have a better understanding because they're looking inside the body when they're operating and they see why these issues happen. So it's just interesting that the orthopedic surgeons are the ones who are aware of the negative
They
ramifications
see
of
the
going.
negative
Yeah, and I could have already knew
ramifications,
that to a
all the
T. And
time.
I was
Yeah.
doing
Exactly.
full range workouts before I met you too. So it's not like I was like, yes, and I think it's also my personality. I don't let peer pressure ever get to me into anybody, no matter who you are. So that ended up working out. And that's how my personality is. I don't if you told me to do this hardcore drugs and I'll get paid $10 million to do it, I still won't do it, right? It's just how
Except
I
for
am.
our sessions, when I tell him to go wash my car, he does it. When I tell him to
Yeah,
pick
it's
me
just
up
it's
the steak.
incredible. Yeah, I do it all the time. That's one of my workouts.
Out at McAllister's.
Parking in
McAllister's.
McAllister's, exactly. dude.
Yeah. So anyway, and he's
Forgot
like,
about
he was a great doctor. I mean, it's hard to say. some orthopedics are a little crazy. You know, the whole hammer your knee and like
yeah,
it's
no,
crazy
I'm not
stuff.
saying orthopedic surgeons
No, no,
are
no.
the
No, it's
the
a
end all
hardcore,
be all.
yeah.
But it's just interesting to me that you will see it very commonly mentioned in the orthopedic world that you need to be careful about going past 90. And personal trainers like, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about. It's like, wait a minute.
There's always a risk going deeper.
Yes.
There's no. It's not like we're not less of a man or less of a woman if you don't go deeper.
Yeah.
You know, that isn't really. That's not what builds the character or anything, or identifies you your character by not going deeper on a squat. Like how important can that be? You know.
Well, it's funny. We were I don't know, you weren't here last night, but we were discussing one of the comments on YouTube. Somebody left saying that they were squatting deep because of their egos trying to like basically satisfying the people in the
This
gym.
is one of your recent
Yes.
steroid videos. I think someone. Yeah, I like that. I almost forgot it
So
myself.
that's the opposite of your blueprint.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think it was not the same comment, maybe a different comment. Some guy says, even some people he witnessed at the gym, he'd look around, he'd comment on your video, on your YouTube video, and he was just saying, you know, no matter how good their posture is on acid grass squat or deep squat, they still have something off their skeletal
Something has
structure, like almost like the butt wink, where people like the glutes come up first in a way. It's just like, it's just so
There's
much.
going to be a compensation.
There
if
has
you
to be
go
some
past 90.
compensation. It can't be picture perfect. Some people are really mobile and might look amazing how tall their posture is, how deep and how heavy going, but that's not everybody.
Yeah, and even if you look very closely, there will still be something. And even if you can't see it physiologically, something's firing
100%.
differently on each side of the body internally.
And then
Internally,
I mean, just like the video we broke down, I can't remember who it was, but it's like they corrected.
Oh,
I can't remember
I think it
what
was
they
Squat
did.
University.
Right, they corrected A, but
Right.
then all of a sudden that right hip was going out way more.
Exactly.
So then it was what their back level, their back being straight.
Yeah, their hips and their
But then
back.
their foot went rotated way out
Exactly.
to then make that right.
It's like he fixed
Just-
one compensation by creating another.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Which, when you go deep, it's like that's going to happen.
Everything's
down really
related.
well.
Everything's
Exactly.
related. You can't just.
Everything is related in the human body. We talk about this a lot. How it's like this puzzle that comes together, and if everything fits perfectly, great. And when you go to 90 degrees, it stays fitting perfectly. But then you start moving a few pieces out of place, and the thing just breaks down. And I think that's what a lot of people are starting to notice. And it was just interesting seeing people comment on YouTube that, you know, this ego lifting is actually, if you think about it, it is going deep because people do that to satisfy the squat police and earn their bro card or squat card in the gym to, you know, the
But what
rite
looks
of
cooler,
passage.
going halfway down or 3/4 of the way down, or going acid grass, right? It always, like, you know, as males at least, I'm talking about at least for male, like, it's always cooler going deeper. Yeah, it's so much more
100%.
badass.
I
don't
wish
blame them.
I wish going
I
deep.
get it.
I wish
understand.
going deep
Yeah.
was the answer because it does look cooler.
I mean, it's amazing. Oh man, that depth is crazy. And there are times on YouTube just watching their videos, like, or even on Instagram, like, there's some strong dudes bench pressing like 3-4 plates or squatting a crazy amount, and they went really deep. Like, oh man, it doesn't count. It's not a full rep. I'm like how much deeper? I'm like, dude, this guy's twice your size.
Yeah.
How much deeper does this guy need to do to get the muscle gains? Like, so if I, for example, I won't go on tangents, but if there's like 3 squat racks at LA Fitness, wherever I am, GSP, wherever we're talking about, and if one female is doing 120 degree knee flexion, and the other person's doing 130, and the other person's doing 140 acid grass squat, right? Tell me which one gets the most muscle gains. Please provide me saying, oh, well, no, that should be 125. You'll get the most sweet spot at that 125. Why does hers look different than his or his?
Mm-hmm.
Which one is the right one? Oh, well, just go deeper. That's all I know is, like, just go deeper.
Exactly.
Because they don't have any semblance of just like, oh, where should I stop or where should I go?
Yeah.
It's a canned response that they've been pre-programmed.
A lot of
almost-
gray area.
Yeah,
There's no
so much.
constant, right?
Yeah.
It's like everyone has, like, why is everyone, go to LA Fitness right now, if I do a workout on these machines, whatever, and like I just see everyone doing a squat. Why does your squat look different than their squat?
Yeah.
What's the right one?
Well, exactly. That's a great
So
point.
it's like, we're going to be here all day talking about it.
And it's
how many reps do I have to do to find which one is the
But notice it's on the squat. When's the last time you heard someone say, hey, on bench press, once you touch your chest, go deeper? Like, you don't hear that, right? But people, I mean, there's less injuries on the bench press than there is on the squat, even though there's still plenty of injuries on the bench press. But it's not like, you know, when people do a barbell bench press and touch their chest, that is not full range of motion in terms of what people could go if they were able to go deeper. So why is it why is it that the squat is like, oh, you have to go deep on a squat, but nobody's saying on bench press like, oh, everyone has to use the cambered bar to go deeper. It's like, no.
That's where you got to.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Camber bar.
It's like, if you think about it,
You're not doing it right
if you
with a
think
regular
about it,
bar.
If
God
you think
forbid we
about
use
it,
that bar,
exactly.
you
If
know?
you think about it, the bench press probably represents about 120 degrees of like flexion. So that would be like 120 degree flexion of squats, which is roughly parallel. But in the fitness world, 120 degrees or parallel squat, oh, you do that, you're not making your gains. But why is nobody mentioning that on other lifts? There's some weird mindset about the
So
squat.
yeah, if someone's doing powerlifting, I guess what for it to count has to be parallel.
Depends on the federation that they're lifting.
Sure.
There's
Federation.
So,
what's
there's different powerlifting federations and
Federations,
organizations.
yeah.
And
So
they have different rules.
So like if someone's doing a 500 pound squat to parallel or 120, it's like are they not doing enough?
Yeah.
So you're telling a person that's doing powerlifting 500 pounds, moving crazy weight,
Right,
that you're never
right,
gonna touch.
right.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Then go do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like how why does my life change for worse or better depending how I squat? Like what does it do for you?
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with you. Let me squat the way I want to squat. I don't go to your page like, oh, this is stupid. You're not deep enough. Like, do I need to have my glutes touch the floor completely to the next bottom floor beneath us? Like, how much deeper do I need to go?
Do we need to actually like carve out a little hole in the floor?
No, I'm like, I might just do that. I've got a client who works construction. They have a company. I'm like, dude, just,
crazy,
dig out a hole, and then I want your glutes to fit that exact spot. And if it doesn't, you have to do it 10 more times till you get it right.
Rami, that's your next work. I'm going to have you dig a hole in the gym. We're going to actually get a riveting machine. You're going to carve out some cement.
Yeah. I think my IQ gets. Yeah, I think my IQ gets.
Yeah.
He's on board, dude.
I'm like, I'm already need a cigarette already for the. I'm already stressed out thinking about it.
The smoke break coming
Jesus.
up.
But yeah, it's just like it's just my IQ just lowers just thinking about these things. I'm like these comments. I'm just like,
well, the comments.
What's good enough for you? Like I don't. Like, what more do you want?
That common phrase I hear nowadays, brain rot.
Oh, brain rot. Yeah, exactly.
Rot. Man, it's just like,
well,
it's
these, the haters, they have so much anger and animosity, but I feel like, but that's the kind of the common person now in this fitness industry, especially on social media. They're also angry, especially if you disagree with them.
They act tough, but it's because they're talking behind their phone.
Yeah.
The electronics
stirs
up
all right, well,
aggression.
Tell Ronnie Coleman why he shouldn't do half reps. Go tell him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go tell him.
Well, have you ever seen his videos of him doing leg press?
Yeah, even incline chest press, incline shoulders. He's like,
exactly.
Rami Coleman.
Keeping the tension. He's keeping the tension. What would you tell him? Oh, he's not going deep. Well, he's like, he would tell you, I'm keeping the tension.
Yeah.
It's like, so why is it different now?
Yeah.
So if I do a sumo squat or sumo deadlift, what's the range of motion look like for the bar?
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so that counts.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And that's actually less than 90 for some people. Because they're so wide.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if you're using that same discussion, like, oh no, just don't be a wussy and just go closer stance.
Exactly. Well, back to the bench press. The width that people go on bench
camber
press,
bar,
right? Yeah, camber bar. But the width they go, right, and how much they arch their backs, and some of these guys have such big, burly chests. They're actually going less. They're using less range of motion than what we use.
That's another example.
Degrees.
Another example. I sent you a meme on the way here, a video of some guy. His back was so arched, it looked almost fake. It was disgusting. I was like, dude, you're going 3 inches. Like, oh, those powerlifters, the females or guys, like they go like literally 2 inches. Done. I'm like, are you guys not going to complain about that? Like what? How many videos do we have to show you? We're like,
no, but in
you
all
won't complain
reality,
about that.
they're having a small exorcism at the same time they're doing a bench press. So
yeah,
that's
then they yell like they have this crazy amount of testosterone peak. I'm like, you're on crazy drugs. I'm like, and they're yelling and they're running around the bitch. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Jesus, like calm down a little bit. It's not that serious.
The positions these guys contort their bodies into, it seriously looks like somebody's having
it's scary.
an exorcism.
Yeah, I'm like that looks
out of position.
I'm gonna hold my profanity, but that looks very silly. Okay, yeah very silly.
I'm surprised we haven't had to edit anything of you yet.
Yeah,
man.
I'm trying really hard. I'm sweating between my hair.
I love it, dude. When he's in the gym, we have to clear it out. There can be no women and children present because
I'm cussing like
clear the air.
Exactly. Like yes, give me more weight. Yes, screaming and yelling.
I'm gonna get yelled at what I just said from the feminists because I said no women and children. I'm sorry, no children present.
No, to be fair, no, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not proper as a man to do that anyway. So there's nothing wrong with that. No, it's true.
I love it. Listen, I want to. We just been talking all kinds here. This is one of the things about this podcast. This is the Right Angle podcast that people have been watching, and we try not to. We don't want it to be overly scripted, and we've been discussing a lot of things here. But I do want to backtrack just a little bit so that people understand your background. You already gave a lot of the backstory kind of leading up to where you're at now. Just give people a quick catch up, if you will, on what you're currently doing, what you've been doing the last few years in terms of your career.
Well, I started doing personal training officially 2 years and change. And I was worried. I'm like, man, how about if these clients don't get the gains? They're paying me some money. I'm like, I feel bad. I'm like, man, how about if they're not seeing the results in a couple months? But I had, I guess I think of Joel as our, when we've been on off training for a while now, on and off, not consistently, on my fault, my behalf. But of course, things happen, life happens. But
Remember, nothing is my fault.
No, nothing is this man's fault. It's just me for existing. Anyway, so I had a kind of a basis. I think of it like almost like a non-stop class I go to when I see him. Not just cool workout, but for me, it's like almost like it's more appreciative because I have things maybe a chiropractor, physical therapist, and my clients, same thing, could not fix, or they'd fix it, but like, man, my neck still hurts. It's like, well, I don't know how to. Like, most people are not gonna know how to fix that at the gym anyway. Like, how do I? I gotta go rely on somebody else. So I already had a structure of like what, for the most part, would be a good way to lift, and a bad way to lift in terms of posture and mechanics. And so because of all these injuries and issues in my left leg and my hamstring, and not only posture and my neck position and traps too big and rounding shoulders, I already had a kind of basis to teach my clients. So in a way, not, I guess you could say piggybacking off the type of 90-degree training, like, fundamental, like, not full range of motion, partial range of motion is what we want to call it. And so I kind of like, I already had a basis. So I had, same thing. I'd evaluate clients and I would see the way they'd walk and where their toes are pointed out and the posture. I'm like, wow, some really bad posture. In my mind, I'm like, this is going to take some time,
Mm-hmm.
But I already had kind of a basis. So I kind of honestly just went with the flow in terms of how I trained them and try to think of myself in their shoes. Like, I had to come a really long way to get somewhat like pain-free and lift heavier than I ever lifted in my life. And to not go backwards, but not even a year after we trained after surgery, I was hitting my PR on squats and lunges. And that's not even a year after like surgery.
Yeah.
Which is pretty, I mean, I don't want to say it's impressive for myself, but like I would never have thought so. My doctor didn't think that would happen. He was like, oh, you look good. I'm like, yeah, I've never been this strong in my life. Anywho, so really just been trying the 90-degree method, really, honestly. And not telling them don't do full range of motion, these things like that. Do whatever you want to do, just be safe. But it just like shows you how appreciative it can be and how rewarding it is to do 90 degrees and how much better you feel. Because if you're injured, how could you get stronger? If you're not functionally sound, how could you do more?
Yeah.
Now you did all that hard work. Oh, I tore something. Well, now you have to wait another year and you got to do it again.
Yeah.
So it's more so.
Yeah, it's not like we're forcing people.
No,
No,
it's
you
not.
have to lift
No,
90.
it's
It's like,
not.
no.
We just presenting what we believe is the truth,
Exactly.
the optimal, the best with the body in all regards.
It worked
Yeah.
for
And that's
me.
why
I want
always
my
tell
clients.
people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say, what's the negative about 90? Show me the negative.
Right.
What is
Exactly.
it? What's the negative? What is it not? What does it do bad?
Yeah.
I haven't found something.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
And then, you let them, hey, keep training. And what do? It's like, well, this 90 feels great. I'm getting stronger. My body feels good. So it's like, okay, you train however you want. Well, what do? They stick to training 90 because, like, training.
And to be fair, just like I was an example for you, it's like they're most molded by it in a way. You kind of teach them that at blank slate. So to be fair, I don't want to be too biased talking about it. But yeah, I have some clients that worked out a day in their life. I won't, go on a tangent. Some clients that have worked out before. Shoulder pain, neck pain, knee pops all the time, right? But it's just like try the 90 degrees and see how you like it. And then all of a sudden I become a doctor. I'm like a physical therapist. I feel like I'm a physical therapist the first 3 months of training when I have clients because it's like my knee pops all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, my knee's gonna pop. It's be really bad. Okay, put your feet straight. Okay, and then keep your knee out, arch your foot a little bit if you can, and then stop, not too deep, go slow. Find out when it pops. Go in really deep. Oh, it pops. Okay, do that again, but 2 inches a little higher. Any pop? No. I'm gonna charge you a medical bill. Now you owe me a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm a
just
doctor.
save them from
Woo,
having
like,
to get surgery.
Now you don't have to get surgery anymore. You're good. And I've had a client before now get attention. He had ACL. He lives in my area. He had ACL tore completely. ACL. And the doctor told him, he was a great doctor. He's like, don't have surgery. Just try to do your mechanics and do your therapy. I was like, wow, that's a great doctor. It's easy cash right
I
there.
know that is.
Easy cash. Not to make fun of
100%.
doctors. I have doctors in the family, so
100%.
don't get mad at me.
Yeah.
But I trained him and did the 90 degrees. And then when he did it correct form, never had pain. You'd have pain walking upstairs, and the more he did it every week, he'd stop for a while, and no pain. We go incline walk. Oh, I can walk longer, and it's just kind of crazy. Just like I didn't make him do much.
Yeah.
Just plant your feet, use your feet as your shoes now permanently. Keep your knees out. Don't go too deep, because even if he went slow, controlled, not too heavy, you'd still have tension and pain past a certain degree.
Yeah.
And it just shows it more because he has an injury currently.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point because a lot of people think, oh, you just have to go slow and controlled with strength training and, you'll be fine. It's like, no, that's not good enough because people, if they go slow and controlled and they're still using improper mechanics, it's still going to hurt. It might just be a little bit safer in terms of an acute injury, like tearing something right then and there, but it's still going to be gradual, degradation of their tissues and especially the cartilage over time.
But like that's not enough.
Yeah,
If
it's
I
not
drive
enough.
slow and control, but the steering wheel's this way,
Yeah,
what's gonna happen?
Exactly. Great analogy. 100%.
100%. Yeah.
No, it's one of the reasons I was excited about having you on the podcast, though, is like I wasn't trying to throw shade at you earlier about saying that you didn't have a science background.
I don't have a science.
Yeah. But so
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get across here is that you don't have to have a science background to be able to implement the 90-degree methods properly. Okay, because
But that's
No, I'm laughing because I have a million like analogies I don't want to miss. On this,
right.
on this
No,
discussion.
but the thing is though, that's like some of the best science you can get.
Yes.
In kinesiology. I mean
Exactly.
that is what we believe and we know is like the pinnacle.
Yeah. Well, that exactly.
And like you were saying, when you have sessions with Joel, and like I've had it with him over the years, I come into the sessions and when we work out, we have a good time, we get a good lift in and stuff. But the stuff I've learned from him over the years, I tell even some people that ask me, I'm like, man, that is my PhD class right there. I'm not getting a PhD in kinesiology. I'm finishing up my master's. I'll be done with that soon.
Yeah.
But I always like to think like that is really my PhD class right there. Every time I step in and we have conversations, we dive deep into the stuff.
Yeah, it can never go wrong knowing more, right?
For sure. But that's why, again, I'm just highlighting this because it's like if you understand the methods, right, and you understand how to implement them practically, you don't have to understand the science at the deepest level. Now, it's good to have a solid understanding, the basics, the foundational elements, and if you know how to train properly and you know how to apply it properly, the science will make that much more sense to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But as long as you have some basic understanding, you don't have to have a deep science background. And the results you get with your clients, the results you get with your self-training now, it works. And you don't have a kinesiology background, but because you know how to take the methods, implement them practically, and coach them, you have better results with your clients than most people who are, certified personal trainers and have a kinesiology background and who, applied exercise science. It's like that you can have all that knowledge, but if you don't know how to apply things,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
it's worthless.
Yeah, we will discuss it. Just right off the bat, if you're studying for the NASM CPT course, right, and there's for one of the certificates you get for being a personal trainer, in one of the pages I'd never forget it. There was a graphic of a lady doing a squat, and she was not going past 90. It just coincidental. They didn't mention 90 degrees to be fair, but she didn't go that deep, and her posture was really good. And I look at these trainers like LA Fitness, for example. And like you just look at them from they have the AirPod in and one thing and they don't really care. That's not gonna say that's every trainer, right? Let's be fair.
It's a lot of them though.
A lot of them though. And I'm just like, you imagine paying $80 for 30 minutes to tell me to go do this and this? Tell me you're doing with that machine and then we'll go over here. I'm like, great, thanks, awesome. Anywho, and they don't care about posture. They don't care about
this guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. Yeah, this would be great.
I love it.
There's no posture involved.
Yeah.
And that was the most important things, like having good posture. I'm like,
Yeah.
you spent money on this, this exam and getting a certificate. It's like if I'm going heavy lifting, you have a client's lifting heavy squat or bent over row with a barbell. Do you want to make sure they don't hurt themselves? Don't you want them to come back to you as a client? Like simple things, common sense, really. You don't really have to be that brilliant or have a background, right? And yeah, a lot of my clients, I show you videos and they're like, holy crap, your client's form is insane. And
I would encourage people, if you're just to understand what we're talking about here, I know obviously you all follow my work or you wouldn't be watching this, or maybe you're a hater and you're just spying on things here. But I go to Rami's page. Is Rami, we're not wrapping up here, obviously, but I just would encourage them to look at your clients as someone who doesn't have an exercise science background and look at the quality of the form your clients had. It's insanely good. It's as good as ours, and he doesn't have a background in this, but because he knows how to train himself and he's taken the methods and he's really comprehended them. He's tried to wrap his mind around it and taken the effort and time to understand it. That's the key. It's the effort to mentally go into this and to
your knowledge is more than so many other people, so many other trainers and things like that. Like when I was at in college, I didn't do it for my undergrad. I did it for my master's. But I mean, I saw some people in the kinesiology department. And I'm like, none of these people know more than me.
Yeah.
Like in maybe
well,
some
in terms of practical application.
Exactly.
Book smart,
at the time.
maybe.
At the time. Now
that's
I've
the
done
problem
my
with a lot of
masters,
people.
no.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the book smart, at the time they might have had it a little bit with some stuff. But in terms of the real deal, the real practical application, no, not at all.
If you're mentally functional, like if you don't have any issues mentally, not being condescending, most people can be book smart.
Yeah.
I have people I know of, friends of mine, and no offense to them, they're doctors. I'm like, I would never see you as a patient. you are so there's no sense of IQ with them, no common sense. You can't learn common sense. But if you're able, you can literally go read a book and master the crap out of it, no matter what subject it is.
Yeah,
It's two different things. So yeah, the practicality, I guess, that's what you're telling me. It's just like I give my clients, and I was laughing earlier. I'm like, I hope I don't on this discussion. I talk fast anyway, but I don't want to miss too many analogies, and it's kind of like as my teaching, instead of like being too scientific with them, I give them a general consensus, which is fine. I don't want to lose them. Some people don't care. Even if they absorb everything, they just want to get a workout in. Not everyone's the same. Like I want to be in and out. I got stuff to do. I'm coming to my work break. I got to get out of here. I don't want to talk and yap all day, right? And I yap. So, anywho, so I give them a lot of analogies to just understand.
He does that too.
I do them all the time.
I have a million. My clients text me like, make sure you don't forget analogies. The lemon one and this one and the plant one. I'm like, oh god, yeah, I'm not gonna forget it.
That's part of the protocol. That's part of the session.
Yeah. Listen, I have movie posters, right? We're talking about film. I have a lot of I have a small area from mine. It's very narrow.
Your gym is awesome because
it's so small,
garage,
but it's like
garage. But he's got 80s and 90s action movie posters all the way around.
I love different all type of genre of movies, drama, even if it's romance, comedy, but whatever it is. But it's just like the idea is testosterone to gym. So like the typical 80s like Rambo and stuff, whatever it is.
Like,
but they're all
posters of Cinderella and Pinocchio on the back.
Yeah, I was gonna start trolling my clients like during we'll put the Grinch on for during Christmas and all these things.
I love it.
But anywho, so So anywho. My like you said, my clients are getting some crazy results, and it's just kind of like almost like I didn't believe myself for a couple months. I'm like, wow, and it's.
Well, I was telling you because you were asking me like, it was funny when he first started training. I mean, this is for everyone when they first start training. It was for me too, and this is. When I was using antiquated methods back when I was 18, 19, 20 years old.
Antiquated methods,
but it's like you're second guessing yourself is actually good. Because you look at a lot of the trainers in this industry who are not competent, they think they know everything.
They're overly confident.
Extremely. When the more you tune into the fact that like, man, there's so much to know and the human body's so complex and it's such a like perfectly crafted, specimen.
Yeah.
You appreciate it for what it is and you understand like, man, I can mess someone up if I don't do this right. But I can also also bring healing to this person if I do it right. And so, the gravity of the situation, it's not a light situation or something to take for granted. I mean, it's an important task that we have.
Yeah.
So I think that's what some of the things you were, your reservations at first in terms of like, oh man, I'm going to be having these people train under me. Like, and I knew you would text me, you would ask me questions. Hey, I have this person with this. And I would always kind of tell you, hey, just do what we've been doing, do the basics, master the foundations. And then eventually after a few months, I noticed like, okay, these texts became less and less.
They're absorbing at least.
Yeah, because you started seeing results and you understood, wow, training people is actually really simple. You just have to understand the foundational principles.
Keyword foundational.
Yes.
Everything you have to have a good foundation. Buildings need a good foundation to be built on. Things need to be built on with foundation, right? Just,
100%
speaking.
You've talked a lot about posture. I want to just touch on this a little bit more. And we've talked about this so much. There's a common theme and trend in the industry for over the last few years that people say posture is really not that important and everybody can have different posture, which is absolute. I don't know who came up with that. I think it's the lazy trainer out because it's like you don't have to. If you go with that, then you basically absolve yourself of having to learn proper training methods because then, my client can kind of train however they want.
Yeah.
So if you say that everyone's posture can be different, you can look at someone having horrible form and you don't feel like you have to correct it because your theory is like, that's just the way they move. It's like, well, no, actually.
That's lazy.
Exactly. And none of the areas of kinesiology support that. If anything, they support the idea that there is a proper format for posture and a proper parameters, and it's pretty similar from human to human.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the improvements of your posture that we've worked on, especially the last few years, and what it's done for your strength. Because I want people to understand, we're not just talking about like making people feel better, healing injuries, doing therapeutic stimuli. As you always mention to me, like, hey, Joel, like, don't get like. It's great that we're discussing the therapeutic benefits,
very important.
But the strength and muscle mass components. A lot of people want to follow this, and they want to know about these protocols because they're like, hey, I don't care about the injuries. I just want to get bigger. I want to get stronger. And what's happened to you over the last few years, we might as well talk about this now. You've gained tremendous amounts of muscle mass to the point that I've mentioned it on social media of gaining like over 20 pounds over the last 2 years or more. It's even getting closer to, I think, 30 now, if I'm not mistaken. and you've done this without steroids, you've done this without even really any supplements, okay? And I mentioned this on social media. People are like, oh, that's impossible. You can't do that. You know, you're a liar. You're a charlatan. Well, I think with improper training methods, with traditional training, it is impossible. So I would actually agree with them.
It is.
But when you train correctly, and one of the things I'm getting at here is that once we started to really hone in on your posture, which had a huge impact on your technique for every exercise, tell the audience what kind of started happening with you and the muscle growth and the strength.
Yeah. And you told me this, I think a week or two ago. I think it was last week. It's funny. So I have a perfect example. I have a couple clients with really bad posture, and they're top heavy, or it's big dudes. I have a couple of my friends or some of my clients, and he's got really rounded shoulders, and kind of like how I've been for a long time, for the most part. And you told me this specific quote. I think it went like, "I'm already pretty strong as this, and I've gotten stronger every year. But what will not allow me to get stronger is my posture being in the way, bad posture. So if my shoulders was rounded forward, how can I get more from my chest?
Yeah, can't.
I can't. I'm already strong, but I have a ceiling now. To get stronger, I need my posture to be much bigger. So then I can hit the muscle grips. Now, I can see the flip coin of that. Well, why don't you just go wide on your chest press? You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Well,
and it's just...
And that's more pressure.
Okay, yes, but see, there's the compensation.
And I want to be
there.
non-biased, right?
Yeah.
There's also a flip side.
Of course, yeah.
Sure.
Of course.
But here's what happens when people do that, is you do open the chest up more, but you also create elevation into the traps because the elbows start to flare. So it's like, okay, you open the chest more, but you use the wrong muscles to open the chest.
Well, then your back's not firing as much.
Yeah, you're not using the lats.
Really,
you're
if
using
Your
lats-
shoulders are about to reach your ears.
Then if your lats don't fire optimally, your chest won't fire
Exactly.
No, and it's just like here's another quote of mine. It's great. It's just I tell people, like, if you say you're at the gym doing split and you're doing upper body day, I tell people, like, all my clients, like, every day is shoulder day if you want it to be shoulder day. Rowing, pass the back, shoulders.
Oh yeah.
Wide shoulders.
Yep.
Shoulders. And like, if you look at people, usually constantly using rounding shoulders. And like, if you look at them at the gym though, female or male, whoever it is, I'm like, the amount of shoulders you use, heavy or light, your shoulders should be giant.
Yeah.
So are you using your joints and ligaments during those reps, or are you using your muscles? If it was straight muscle and no joint ligaments being damaged to do that, you should be giant. Yeah. You should be Dwight Howard. You should be whoever you want.
Yeah.
You should be huge. I'm like, so is it the muscle or is it something else? Because if reps are the answer too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're hitting shoulders nonstop. I'm like, I tell them, like, some clients to do trap bar squat or lunges and they get tension and like, don't keep the tension in the neck area. Like, I'm like, tell them leave the shoulders at the office, relieve them here now. Makes sense. So
that's a great. No, I like that.
And I won't get ahead of ourselves in discussion, but I've had tendonitis and I'll wait to talk about it. Bicep, and mine is a little more severe structurally, maybe because I did nothing for it for years. I just kind of let it run its course. And it was more so much my head position, which sounds ridiculous, and my posture.
Your head position, you meant? Yeah.
Yes, head position. So I'm like, well, it's like put your chin back. I'm like, even when I'm standing, it sounds ridiculous. I'm not just saying just for the sake of this podcast. When I push my chin back, I almost feel like my mid back section is literally like flexed. Just doing this. I'm like, does it make sense? I'm like, if my posture is always straight, now I got way more stretch in my back. Like, I have clients like, all right, we're gonna stretch, but you're not gonna move your body. I'm like, what do you mean? Push your chin back, shoulders down and back. Nice tall chest, core tight. Put your hands by your side. Squeeze. I'm like, oh man, like, do that for 20 seconds ago, or eyes closed or not eyes closed. And like, oh man, that was crazy. I'm like, did you move your arms past your back?
It's great.
I'm like, no. I was like, so you felt it? I was like, yeah. I was like, oh.
It's a basic.
I'm a magician.
Stuff.
I'm a magician, right? I'm like, oh my god, could you please come see me and pay me more money?
Right.
So
Dr. Rami.
But you know that because you had to fix yourself.
Oh, it's an ongoing battle. And I tell clients, like, if you let go of the gas, and we'll talk about it, full body tension, like squeeze your teeth, squeeze your cheeks together, squeeze your back, squeeze your core, whatever it is. Just don't let go of the gas, because once you let go of the gas, and I tell my clients the same thing. It's like, think of it like this: if you throw a punch at me, or I have an injury, I'm not gonna like give you my posture like, oh, I'm a big bear, I'm a big lion, like, oh, posture up, right? Like a gorilla. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna round my shoulders and protect myself like a shell.
Right.
I'm sad. I'm like, ooh, I'm flinching.
Right.
Right. If you throw something at me, my hands are gonna go where? Where are my elbows? They're not here. The posture's not there, because the body just knows it needs to protect itself. If there's 300 pounds coming at my chest slowly, all I need to know, I need to get this bar off me. I'm gonna die if I don't.
Yeah.
The flip side is, well, if I keep my posture, head back, chest bigger, squeeze harder, I'll probably have more leverage to push it back up and keep the activation going. So the moment, every millisecond that you let go of the gas and don't stay locked in because you feel like, oh, it's overwhelming, the body will start rounding at the shoulders. And so you'll have less leverage. Now, what's a bigger body part to push with? Your chest, which is the chest rest anyway, or your shoulders deep here.
Exactly.
So like if you're in a bar fight, whatever crazy analogy, or if I want to push something hard as I can, do you want to push it with my elbows flared completely for power? Or my elbows tucked in more, which will give me more power and force. Now, do that again, but now roll your shoulders, go past the back of the elbows. Is that more power or parallel to my body more power?
Exactly. Well, they teach that in football. They teach that to NFL offensive linemen.
Do you see them doing this?
Yeah.
Do you see them doing that?
They'll tear their pecs.
So why is it different when I do a chest press? Why should it be different?
Yeah, it's not. Or even throwing punches like in martial arts, like Bruce Lee. You never saw him take these huge wind-ups and pulling his elbow.
He didn't even have to.
Exactly.
He didn't have to. So,
Bruce Lee, boom.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you mentioned though about
Knockout.
that flexion, the knockout, the 1-inch punch, but the flexion of a fetal position essentially. People kind of going rounded shoulders, shoulder elevation, spine flex. That is ultimate inhibition mode. Your nervous system is trying to shut down movement to protect itself.
Bingo.
Okay, and it's actually a reflexive mechanism.
It's like the
it's a survival mechanism.
Flight or fight, right?
So we want the opposite, right? But most people are lifting in a state where they are in that semi-inhibited position because their shoulders or posture. We want to limit or minimize inhibitory signals and maximize activation, and the way you do that is with perfect posture.
You have to. Once you let go of the posture, you let go of the gas.
Yeah.
And you can't risk that at the bottom of your squat, bottom of your chest press. Make sense? So like I told my clients, you can either be passive or active.
Yeah.
You can actively do the exercise or you can passively do it. And if it's passive and it's heavy, well, this 315-pound squat, it's not going to get any lighter at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know it's 315. You know it's going to be heavy as you've lifted. Yeah. So I think of it as analogy is kind of like if you have an exam in 6 months, and no one does this. I myself definitely didn't do that. Who wants to study ahead of time? If you studied the book or what you need to study for the exam, you know it's going to be there, all these chapters, whatever it is. If I studied it day by day, little by little, 20 minutes a day, hour a day, for 6 months before an exam happened, the night of the exam, I'll be, it's a breeze. I don't have to study. I already know what I'm doing. If I crash and burn, I'm like, oh man, the night before, I'm on Adderall, I'm on some stuff, whatever I need to do to not sleep all night to study. I'm like, oh, now it's a gamble.
Yeah.
But if I know that 315 squat's coming, and I can just wait to react at the bottom, like, oh man, this is hard. Well, tell your body with your mind and say, this is gonna be heavy. Get locked in. You know this exam is coming. Do it right. Get ahead of it. Make sense? But if you wait for a reaction at the bottom of the squat, this got heavier somehow.
Yeah.
Now you're waiting for a reaction. Don't wait for that reaction. Yeah. One, it's not as safe. Two, you won't have enough power coming out.
That's interesting.
Either.
So you're kind of saying
you don't have to get ready. What is it?
Proactive.
No. You got to stay. I don't have to get ready. I stay ready.
Yeah,
100%. That's for other things, right? Of course, right?
Sure. But I see what you're saying. It's like the 90-degree thing. It's like you're locking your posture in, you're locking in your positioning, and you don't have to react to an unpredictable stimulus or an unpredictable pain or inhibitory mechanism because it's not going to happen. Your body is pre-prepared. It's proactively locked in, and you know it's coming. You know, hey, I'm locked in. As long as I stay locked in, even if this weight's really heavy, it's coming back up. If I lose position, then the weight probably won't come back up.
Yeah, and it's like
you lose tension.
You lose tension. So like that weight's not changing mid-rep. It's going to stay the same weight. With how much you execute and prepare for it. Yeah. That's up to you. If the nervous system takes over and your mind's not fully there, like, it's gonna be hard. Well, then already off the bat, you're gonna struggle probably. Or you could have done it a little bit better if you just stayed locked in mentally too.
I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about like the passive versus active, how we're trying to train people and coach them to stay active, to keep their muscles engaged, not just let their muscles shut off or lose activation as they go too deep, which inevitably, if you go too deep, you lose activation. The movement becomes more passive. This week, I was filming something that I'm releasing, and people have already seen it at this point. It was because we're a little bit ahead of schedule when we do these. So it was on knees over toes guy, Ben Patrick. And I first off, the guy is a true gentleman. I have nothing negative to say about him personally. He's always handled himself very professionally. So this is not to throw any shade at him. People know we disagree on the range of motion thing, even though we agree on a lot of stuff like, working the shins, working the hip flexors, the hamstrings, doing partials. He's big on partials. He does partials to like 45 degrees, 50 degrees. Like he does shorter partials than what I ever use, but he also does the flip side of the very huge range of motion. But one of the things he was taking Mark Bell through a workout, And Mark Bell keeps a very open mind. He had me on the podcast, which I'm appreciative of, with Mike Israel, my good buddy, and that was a fun one. So I recommend people go and watch that so they can see the full context of that. But anyways, so Mark is great at keeping an open mind and just trying out every method. And so he was letting Ben take him through the knees over toes stuff, and he got him into a position. It was like a reverse Nordic curl where you're on your knees, and it's like a leg extension, but in a super stretched position. One of the first things out of Mark's mouth was like, wow, this is a very passive position. He literally said that. It's on the video that I think we kept it in there. But this was not rehearsed. This was not premeditated.
He's throwing his thoughts out.
He's just throwing his thoughts out as he's getting into this position for the first time. And Mark, he's used to having to stay tight for breaking powerlifting records. So for him to say, this is very passive, that tells you what's going on with the nervous system. It's not doing anything.
Right. What is it doing? That's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly. What is it doing at that point?
You really are resting at that point.
Yeah. You are. And
literally, yeah.
So this is where exactly it's passive, but this is where the 90-degree principle, we talk about effort.
You can't be passive.
We talk about intensity, right?
Can't be passive.
Well, what's the most intense type of contraction? It is 90 because it requires so much engagement and so much tension.
People don't think is as intense because, well, think about it. At 90 degrees, if I have the most cross bridges and things like that, motor units available to me, yeah, it's intense, but some people are like, oh, it's not that intense. I'm like, well, think about it this way. You also have a lot more muscles. Engaging. So you have more support though.
Yeah.
At the same time.
That's great. Yeah.
So people don't understand that. It's like you also have, if you have strong legs, good, great. Same with the chest press.
It's more intense, yet it's stronger.
That's great.
But you have more leverage too, literally.
Yes. Exactly. So it's not gonna it's gonna feel more powerful. It's gonna feel more clean. And as if I was going all the way. Yeah. I don't have as much muscle fiber firing. I'm using more of my tendons and ligaments.
Yeah. It's like, do you see basketball players going ass to grass before they jump for the ball?
Nope. No.
Exactly.
You might sometimes, but you're not gonna have the best chance, optimal chance.
I would say you would.
I don't think.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt, right? No, but I'm like, I haven't seen it, right? To be fair, right? But it's just like, for example, if we do a wall sit, all right, go do a wall sit for me. Where are you sitting?
Yeah,
that's true.
Are you ass to grass against the wall?
Yeah.
Are you at parallel or above parallel?
Well,
to keep the tension.
Exactly.
To keep the tension.
Well, people will cheat in the wall sit. If you're having people do
they go lower, don't they?
They'll either come up or they'll go lower. 100%. Going lower is the easiest.
I have clients, like, all right, 185 looks good. Now do it and hold it for 6 seconds. But treat it like as if you're going to do it for 20 and squeeze really hard. They hold it for 2-3 seconds, like, oh, premature, like, oh, it's too hard, and they come right back up. Like someone put a fire to their glutes and like, oh, it's too hot. So I'm like, okay, so if it's not intense, then why'd you come back up so fast?
Yeah.
I have clients getting crazy quad definition within months. The form gets better.
You showed me something.
I have clients, like one client is within 6 months, he's been lost 30 pounds with me. And I'm not a weight loss specialist. Okay? I don't do weight loss, but he's works really hard because cardio does his due diligence. Comes 4 days a week, to be fair, to see me. He's got better V shape than I do. And we don't do anything bodybuilding wise. And it's so impressive. His quads are massive. He had quads a little bit when he first met me. They're like double the size. And we never go past, on average, 3 reps on average, any client. People are like, oh, how do you do reps like that and not get enough activation or growth?
That's a great
point. Yeah.
But awesome. This also ties back into your own training and what we've been doing. Like, you didn't come to me saying, hey, I want to get as muscular and as strong as possible. You came to me saying, hey, I want to feel better. I want to be out of pain. I want to just be able to move better. And that's been the primary goal and point of emphasis since we started training. It still is. But all of a sudden, like, your body just started taking off with muscle growth and strength. And it's like, whoa, like, what's going on here? And it's, it just changes your mindset because, like, wow, now I'm healthy. Like, what's possible here? I can gain 20, 30 pounds.
Sky's the limit when you have nothing to worry about in terms of injury.
Yes.
And you've heard me say this before, and I'll keep saying it, but it's like, again, it's like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Mm-hmm. And with the pieces of the puzzle, it's not one part. It's not just therapeutic. That's it. Yeah. It's everything combined, and that comes with that. And it's all that strength. It's all that power. It's all that overload. It's that muscle growth. Exactly. And then you go from there. Again, where's the negative? I keep coming back to it, but it's 100%. Like there's no negative.
You said it the best.
It covers everything.
No, that's exactly it.
That's exactly what you're saying. I'm just chipping in.
No. That was I didn't think about myself. That's exactly right.
Even and I want to just mention this quickly too about your bicep tendonitis and the posture and how it's not enough to just have good posture. Because oftentimes, if we went heavy enough, I'm thinking back even 6 months ago. Now you're doing 275 easily on bench press now, but I'm thinking back 6 months ago when you were, doing around 225, 235 and be like, oh man, shoulder, bicep still filled a little bit. Your posture was good. It was a lot better, but good didn't cut it. It had to be better and it had to be perfect. And when it's perfect, guess what? Not only are you stronger, but you don't have any pain, and that allows you to lift heavier, and then your nervous system frees up your body to continue to use progressive overload each week. And I think that's been one of the big things why you've been able to consistently progress in load and in muscle mass over these last several years, is because every time you hit a little plateau, we realize, it's a posture thing, it's a technique thing, it's his form. We fix that, then you start gaining strength and muscle again.
Then I blew him again out of nowhere.
Exactly. So I think that's something people need to understand. A lot of plateaus in training are because of technique. They're because of mechanics. And when you fix those compensation issues, it's like, okay, the immediate benefit is, your joints are going to feel better. But the long-term bonus is, wow, this is how you gain strength and muscle indefinitely.
And they got their burgers and alignment. That's it.
Burgers, exactly. He doesn't even know about the burgers joke. Hey,
don't get me hungry. I'm starving.
Hey, listen, we're gonna have you back for a second interview here because we got so much to cover. We didn't even get to the Mike Menser stuff, which I feel is so juicy. You got the Mike Menser shirt, Muscle Mike. Oh, you can't.
I don't know if you can see it,
you can kind of see it a little bit.
A little bit. Let me twist my body.
Mike's muscle. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Mike Menser. We're both big fans of Mike Menser. I know you know a little bit about him, but next time you come on, we're going to talk about.
I don't.
You don't know about Mike Menser?
No.
We've talked about it a little bit. You'll remember. Yeah, you'll remember. But anyways, we'll get to his stuff next time. But I want to go and touch on one more key point here. I want to talk about the 225 pause squat. That was that maybe 6 months ago, probably 8 months ago or less. I'm losing track of time.
Yeah, I feel like I keep forgetting it's 2005.
Probably around.
He held a 225 squat for 6 months?
No, yeah, for 6 months exactly.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, how deep were you?
But it was, I would just say 6 months ago roughly, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I think that's about yeah.
Okay, do you want to go into this, or do you want me to?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't want to steal your thunder.
And I gave the same example in terms of being like locked in tight with all my clients about head position and everything. So you had me do a 225 squat, and I definitely was lighter, at least 10 more pounds lighter.
I had him do this because I noticed something was just like his strength was going up, and again his form was getting better.
We didn't want something to fall into cracks.
Yeah. No, I was lifting heavier in my squat. That wasn't a problem. The 225 wasn't bad, easy, not hard for me to do in terms of reps.
Right. You were able to do like I think you were getting about 350 at that point. Okay, I think, or 315 to 350 was about where
I was trying to get to 315, I think.
Yeah.
It was a little premature.
Yeah,
it was a little earlier, to be fair.
Okay. Were you at you weren't at 315 yet. Okay, you were getting close, but
we were trying to get 315.
You could see his strength was starting to go up. His technique was getting better. But like you could see some small shifting in the squat, or like it wasn't perfectly locked in. You could see some very small compensation patterns. So I told myself, when I saw that at one of his workouts, like as we were going heavier, you could see that show up and creep in a little bit. I was like, okay, next squat session, I'm just going to have him do long holds to expose some of these things. Like you said, it really highlights where some of the deficiencies are. So you tell what happened.
So you were asking me to do, I think, like up to 10 second pause in 225 at 90 degrees. Asher fix, right? And for first couple of seconds, like the second, third second, I remember, I'll never forget it. It was like I started shaking. I'm like, why am I shaking? My legs were shaking crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not.
Was that about
hard.
the 3 second mark?
Because it was early. It was not like 8 seconds later by any means. It was like, matter of seconds, obviously. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. I'm like, oh, man, like I'm trying to squeeze as hard as I could. It was just not changing anything. I'm like, this is not that hard for me to come back up. Very easy, very light at the time. And he told me, all right, next week we're going to do it again, at least for the squats. Everything else looked good. Chest press looked good. Long holds, long pull-up holds, all these things. Let's come back to squat. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, I was kind of frustrated. He knows me. Like, if I'm frustrated about something, I'm not per se a perfectionist per se, but like, it annoys me a little bit if I don't get something right properly the way we train. I'm like, oh, I got to nail it, right? Whatever it is.
Well, I told him I wanted him to be able to come back and do 225 for 10-second pause.
No movement.
Perfect. Like I want it to look like it's a stand.
Yeah, it wasn't like a little bit better, like 100% better.
Yeah.
So like I got a little lazy. I'm very lazy. I don't train often. So people ask me, oh, how do you gain so much mass or strength so fast? And we'll save that for next time.
Yep.
But I on average only work once a week, and usually it's with him. So I worked out that following. So this is Wednesday. I go see him on Wednesdays. I see him on Wednesdays. And that following Monday, I went to go do it. I was like, let me go to my home gym. Let me do 185. I was like shaking again. I'm like, dude, like I'm going lighter. Why am I shaking so much? I was like, my back's pretty tight at the bar. It feels tight, but like I can maybe be a little tighter. I got taller. I squeezed harder. Within 5 seconds, I'm shaking, and I kept going. I kept holding it, and then once I started squeezing the back tighter posture, the shake went away in that same rep. I didn't come back up. Did it 2 more times, did one more set, man, yeah, I don't really shake till like the last couple of seconds. The next week I did 225, even 245
I
or
think
something.
you did 245.
We even a little heavier. It didn't move till the last maybe 1 or 2 seconds.
I
It
don't
was
even-
like
it was barely.
after that specific. I give my clients the same exact example. I knew he'd bring it up today. I had a feeling in our discussion, but I give my clients that same thing. Just the more locked in you are, the 5-10%, automatically you probably end up lifting more than you think. The tighter everything is, don't get loose, don't get like relaxed, stay stiff, stay contracted, keep squeezing. Once I did that, 350. Like, we were hoping that I think it was end of like last year, whatever it was, towards the end of last year,
To get 405.
or like the previous year, whatever it was, the previous year, 2024. Like, all right, hoping to get like 315 early 2024.
Yeah.
We hit it and it was much more manageable. It wasn't great. Right knee moved a bit,
Yeah.
to be fair, and I have a pulled quad, so it's harder for me to contract sometimes.
And we were talking about like way in the future, like, oh, eventually, a few
Eventually.
years from now, 405.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I could even handle 275 on my back without feeling my back was just like lower back was like taking a hit. Not bad, like couldn't walk around and stuff and function, but it was like, this is not great. My back is not tight enough. And of course, it's a posture thing too, because some people can lift heavier with their legs, but the barbell squat holds them back is heavy on the back, right? That's obvious, right? It's common sense, I guess. And then we got to like 3 plates. Okay, it was great. And then like the next time we did a 10-second hold, it was like, all right, 315 or something, 275, easy, no shake. Then we kept going. All right, now like 300 something. I'm like, never would have dreamed to do that. At least now we're talking about 90 degrees. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
We're talking about 90-degree squats. I didn't change from ass to grass to now. It's been 90 degrees this whole time. Okay, talking about 90 degrees, 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's not like we went from
No. And
doing 225.
people don't read your post. They
Yeah.
like they have no sense of like they have no patience and that short-term memory loss apparently too. So it's like they don't just they don't get it. They don't read enough. So I get it. This world now is like, all right, I want a quick reel, then I want to be out. I want to know it and then be done with it. That's fine. I get it. Anyway, so then we start going like 405. I'm like, and all these things, 390, whatever. I'm like,
literally a few months. Like,
this is like, I
probably
mean,
2 months
within a
later.
year, we jumped like 2 plates.
Yeah, he hit. We weren't able to do 315, and finally he hit 405 like 2 months later after this 225 session.
We'd even try 350 or something. We just went straight to it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it looks good. Let's try it.
Yeah.
And I've seen your videos on Instagram.
Yeah.
Joe.
Now you're at 5+ plates on squats.
I've seen videos.
And I try to hold it like for
Yeah.
as long as I can before I come back up, and it
Yeah.
I
doesn't
look
feel
at the
that bad.
bar. I'm like, I gotta count that again. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
6 plates.
But you
now.
gotta keep in
I'm
mind,
like,
this is from someone
Very
now
strong.
who for a long time struggled going past 225.
Wow.
And it's not like his
Yeah.
form was bad.
Yeah.
It
That
wasn't
subtle
perfect.
posture adjustment.
It wasn't
And
perfect.
then
It was so
exactly.
minor, very
It was
minor.
a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10 for your body because of the issues that you've had in the past, the injuries.
shows the plateau though.
That was it.
That's the
And
yeah.
some people, they'll plateau with a form of like a 7 or 8 out of 10. Your body plateaued with a 9 out of 10. It wasn't until you got it to like a 10 out of 10 did you get it out of that plateau, and then the strength gains were crazy, literally more than double
my quads
squat.
start growing crazier, bigger.
Exactly.
And you could blame it on load management and weight. It was lifting heavier, but I think it was my form. So I have a pulled quad from previous injury. Some playing flag football, and some guy fell on my back and like just overextended my quad. So I have like almost like a divot, right? And doctors like, rest it, or it'd be fine. I'm like, never went away. So like, activation is very important. So I won't go on a tangent. But whenever he told me to co-contract and squeeze my feet, plant my feet really hard barefoot,
Squeezing.
I would never, at 225, when I took a break with you for a good bit. So I didn't see Joel for a while in terms of training. I would go to fitness, do my regiment 90 degrees the best I could without my trainer, my sensei watching me, right? Sensei trainer, too much Karate Kid, too many action movies, right? But I never felt the stretch of my quad fill back. It almost feels like a hole. It's really high up in my quad. And it's been there, it's still there, and I have to do work to fix it, of course. But I was never able to like even kick a soccer ball without pain. It was like almost a 2nd degree, and it was just like moving the foot with a little bit of weight. It was causing crazy. I couldn't walk with it for a while on my pulled quad. And so I was trying to get to 225 again. I was around when I met Joel again a couple years back, and I haven't seen him for a while. I was around 225 in my squat. My form wasn't very good. The depth wasn't even that deep, so it should have been to 90 degrees. And it just didn't feel that good. I go a little heavier, but I went a little heavier. I'm like, this is light. He fixed my form, like 225 felt way heavier all of a sudden. And I tell my clients the same thing. Sometimes the weight you do, it feels easy, but once you fix your form, it's better. You'll feel it way more. And then you almost have to go back and weight again.
It felt heavier. It felt heavier in terms of the effort, but you're able to do it more efficiently.
Yeah, because I felt I was in the right position to get more of a muscle fiber connection too, right? I'm in the right spot. So, so after that, I never felt my quad fully stretched in position. And I didn't have to go deeper to get my quad to stretch for the record. I just squeezed harder and I squeezed my foot harder to contract.
Exactly.
Because so I didn't have to go deeper. I literally just squeezed more. And I literally like my warm up, even now, all right, warm up is like 1 plate. Then the second warm up is 2 plates. Then 3 plates is my first set. All right, then we go to 4 plates. All right, then maybe like 4.5 and 5 plates again, whatever it is, a quarter. But my first, second set warm up, very light. I feel like if I squeeze hard enough, I feel like my whole quad stretching completely.
Yes.
And I'm not going deeper to do that. at all.
That's your max range of
Yeah,
motion.
yeah.
That's your max
Yeah.
stretch.
And
And
you're
I'm fully
squeezing
stretched.
it
I
in.
see it literally
Yeah,
stretching. I can see it literally going back in place
Exactly.
visually.
Well, that's what this is a good. I want to kind of hold this point for a minute or two, and then we'll wrap this up. But I think what you're mentioning here is people think that in order to create more stretch or elongation of the muscle, you have to create a deeper biomechanical position in the joint. You don't. You need to create more tension in the muscle by co-contracting. And I've talked about co-contraction. We've talked about it in other podcasts. That means you're squeezing into the position, not just passively. That word passive again coming up. You're not just passively letting gravity pull you down or letting the weight manipulate you into position. You are actively pulling yourself into that position, into the 90-degree spot. And that's what helps take that shaking sensation out where you're quivering, because the muscles are so engaged. So now you have tension on both sides of the joint. So in the case of the squat, your hip flexors and hamstrings are firing, they're co-contracting, and they're helping to elongate your glutes, and your hamstrings, I should say, are firing to help elongate your quads, and your hip flexors are helping to fire to elongate your glutes. So now you have tension on both sides of the hips and the knees.
That's right.
So now you create stability, but you also create this high level of muscle activation where everything is recruited. So now you can handle these heavy loads with very stable positions. There's no energy leaks. That's exactly it.
Yeah, when you're going that heavy, you don't want to waste your time with other body parts that have nothing to do with the lift itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I tell my clients, if you want more from your chest press, we'll get your back contracted, lats contracted.
Exactly.
Naturally, get my chest much bigger. Same thing. If you're doing bend over row, well, your chest should not be sulking. Get it bigger so you get more recruitment in the muscles in the back.
And what does that not help with?
Exactly.
It helps everything. Games,
Everything.
in the weight room, and then life. I'm driving in the car. I'm sleeping at night as best as possible to combat whatever else you're doing. It just
your
applies
body
to
naturally defaults to that slightly. Exactly. But this is, and just to wrap this up, what you said here, to create co-contraction, you can't do it without perfect posture. And actually, if you do focus on your posture, co-contraction, the squeezing sensation will somewhat naturally happen. You just kind of have to remind yourself a little bit of it. So again, this posture thing is absolutely massive, and this is what's been so big for helping you, and it all starts with the head position. We didn't even get to talk about the feet. We're going to have to talk about Mike Mentzer next time. We're going to have to talk about foot mechanics. We're going to have to go over cues and coaching of training clients and athletes, especially for helping other trainers and physical therapists out there who would benefit from this. So I think this is a good point here in terms of wrapping up. Anything else that you want to say or reiterate that doesn't lead us into the next, or maybe it does lead us into the next phase, or next podcast.
No, it's just to be one of my analogies, I guess. Real quick, I'll make two analogies, and just to sum up the way I practically train my clients, and without the science, as much science as I could possibly give them, not coming from a science background. I make two analogies. One is of a lemon and making lemon juice or lemonade. If I have this cup here and I want to make lemonade, right? If I have 4 lemons, and let's say the lemons resemble reps or rep count, reps, okay? I have 4 lemons and I have 8 lemons. And I tell my clients, okay, if I can use 4 lemons fully squeezing to make this amount of lemon juice I need, whatever the amount is. If I can do that, great. But now, I also can do the same amount using 8 lemons, which doesn't make sense for the same amount. But for those 8 lemons, I can only partially squeeze them. Rather, when the 4 lemons, I actually have to fully squeeze them. One uses more effort, one needs more reps or more lemons, but it's the same amount. Meaning, if my 4 lemons are eccentric isometrics or eccentric isometric movement or reps, if I have a proper slow controlled eccentric or negative, and an actual pause with tension, not a pause with isometric with no tension, activation, passive,
that whole lemon.
I'll get the same amount as I could if I partially squeezed 8 lemons. And I'll give you a perfect example. I have a lot of clients, especially my male clients, very heavy, strong, big muscles, like bigger than my head. Okay, not a big frame person. I don't have a big frame, right? Whatever. Big dudes, clients. All right, show me your shoulder press. Show me how you do it. All right, yeah, I can set up, first set, 40, 50 is easy. I'm like, great. Now go a little slower, stop halfway, half rep, and then hold it. And somehow that weight is usually their warm-up is like too heavy. I don't want them to do a lot of reps using only few muscles. I want you to do less amount of reps with every muscle fiber you possibly can. And to do that, you cannot go too deep. I can sit here, hold 100 pounds in my hands like this and sit here all day. But I cannot do the same here.
Yep.
Exactly.
Squat is the same thing. If I want to talk to you, smoke a cigarette, and just peel rice all day, whatever I'm doing, I want to ask the grass, put my hands on my knees. And I cannot do that halfway back up. I will have massive quads by next year. Huge. I cannot physically do that most people cannot do that for a minute. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, and then my another analogy, well, I'll save it for Mike Mentzer. I won't talk, but over training method. But that's kind of how I think of it, right?
That's great. What you're saying is get the most out of each and every rep And the way to do that is
Yeah.
stay tight, squeeze, lock your posture in, and find that 90-degree or natural stopping point, and that's where the muscles are fully engaged.
max
and you're
benefit.
Now I got my now I have my lemonade with 4. It took a little more
Exactly,
effort.
yeah,
I squeeze
yeah.
every drop. And tell them like squeeze every drop before you leave this gym session. Make sense?
You know, and that's why we always
Great.
talk about programming. It's like, man, you don't have to do a ton of reps. You don't have to do a ton of sets. You just have to do high quality, and that creates insane intensity.
And you won't. You can do more if you do it right
Yeah,
first time.
exactly. Well, that's a good segue into the Mike Menser stuff for next time, because there is a tie in there for people who are familiar with his stuff. He's all about intensity, and not volume. So we'll leave that there. But that was awesome, man. I'm happy we did this, and like I said, we got to have a part 2 on this. I hope you guys learned from this. This is Rami Baghdadi. Check out his Instagram page. He's got some great just foundational stuff that he does with his clients. It's the same things we do, but it's good to see other trainers doing that as well. And don't forget, you can check out the copy of my free book, Movement Redefined Fundamentals, on my website. It goes into a lot of things that we just talked about. It's on my website at advancedhumanperformance.com. Check that out, and make sure you read it before we have Rami back on the podcast so we can go even deeper into these topics. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me. I really
you very
appreciate it.
much,
Thanks,
Good
guys.
stuff. All right.
Appreciate it.
Hey guys, I'm excited to announce that my brand new book, Movement Redefined Fundamentals, is out, and it's completely free. It's on my website, advancedhumanperformance.com, and it gives all the details of the 90-degree eccentric isometrics protocol, and it just gives all the fundamentals that you need to maximize your strength training and gain as much muscle as possible, as well as optimizing your joint health. So check it out. Again, it's completely free.